In a previous video, I claimed that we could generate a non-trivial web application in Visual Studio Code with the help of Claude Sonnet, but I didn't show it. So today I'm going to show it, and I keep my fingers crossed for a reason. And the reason is that these systems are not deterministic. What I mean by that is that if you ask a chatbot a question, and you ask it again, you get most likely a different answer, unless you configure it to give you the same answer all the time. And for that, you use temperature, you set it to 0. I haven't found out yet how to do this in Visual Studio Code. It may not even be possible at the moment. So that's why I keep my fingers crossed that I get something very close to what I had before, but I cannot guarantee it. What I think is true, without proof, is that the more diverse options a language model has been trained on, the less guaranteed the outcome. Now, what do I mean by that? If about 50% of the Blazor examples out there on GitHub have a global CSS file called app.css and about 50% call it site.css, it's very well possible that the actual file in your generated application is called app.css, while the reference to it from the HTML is called site.css. And of course, that doesn't work. It's not a big deal. We can easily see that the CSS is off and fix it. But to avoid all those initial problems, I prefer to use a template. And I compare this approach to hiring a new person in your company. They may be very smart and knowledgeable, but they don't know anything about your company yet. And it's your duty or task to onboard them and bring them up to date. And uh, so you tell them what the way of working is. And translated to our app development, it means that a project template can be really helpful to set the stage. And as already said in the previous video, the clearer your guidelines, the better the results. And it's also important to, after the first increment, to realign and check whether what you asked for was actually done, and if not, to correct. This is also the same with a new hire. If you give them an assignment, before you give them the second assignment, you of course check how they did on the first one and realign if necessary. Okay, so now we're ready for the setup. I am here in the folder demo and it is empty. So now I can do git clone and get code from a repository on GitHub. And that is this guy. And you can see here there is a application folder, a test folder, and a specifications folder. The specification folders has these markdown files. In it is a roadmap, and also there are generic specifications on testing guidelines, for instance, and then there's product-specific guidelines, for instance, for the products page. Okay, but I wanted that particular, yes, cloning. What do I have now? I can go here and say open a project or a solution. I can go to, oh, it's already there, Spec-Driven development. Hopefully everything is fine now. And then I can say, well, I want this as a startup project and then start it and see what I have. I should have some kind of an empty shell. Those of you who are good at creating project templates would go that route. I am not, so I just have this repository to quickly get up to speed. What this gives me is some indication of how I want to do navigation, and and the CSS style and my identity. I also have in here just one test, very simple one. So I run this test and um, test explorer. It says not run, but now it says passed. Hello, hello. Yes, it's passed. Green. Okay, so that's the starting point. And now we can get to the actual demo. Okay. For that, I need to go again to here. Now there's one little thing here. This has a connection string. It's amazing that I think about that. So I had here 42, and you go to 43. That's not the actual amount of or number of attempts that I had, but I have here now a 43, an empty database, as you see, ready to absorb everything this system produces. So for the first prompt, I want to go to my README file. Hello, README. And in there, I found my first prompt, meeting all requirements, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I have such small space on this laptop. This is my prompt, and I use Claude Sonnet, so let's go and see what happens. It's looking at a roadmap and Copilot instructions. That's a good start. So if you don't know, Copilot instructions say things like um, what the overview is, and it starts at the top and then gradually goes into more and more details. So specifications, roadmap tells what the application is about and what all the guidelines are and what the increments are, and then this product specifications goes here, and it says what the purpose of the each of the pages is, and so on. Anyway, in the meantime, it has read all the things that are relevant, and it's now going to the stores.cs. Oh no, it is creating the store model because it needs to start with a store page. It also creates product and product store. Don't know exactly why. Not absolutely necessary, but it's not wrong either. It has seen that I want to use entity framework, and it is going, it's very clearly indicating what it is doing. That doesn't necessarily mean that it will do that, but it's a good sign that it at least appears to be knowing what it is doing. The store servers for data operations. So I can also follow it along here if I wanted to. So Spec-Driven development, I can here now see that it has the store service, the exception handler service, because I indicated that I wanted the service that handled all exceptions. And it is also going here to create more pages in a minute. Okay. It's still working on the error handling. Now and then it says, do you still want me to continue? Because it's eating my budget. My budget is now 29.7%. Well, of the what has been allocated to my department, and I'm the only user in the department. Nobody else knows yet that this exists, so I'm free to eat whatever I want. Imports razor, yeah, plays a role too. So it added some folders there. Oh, that's nice. It cleans up after itself. So it has put references to namespaces here, and therefore it doesn't need to have using statements in the individual files. It nicely removed that. Okay. Now let me create the stores page. Okay. So pages. Uh, if it's doing well, it follows the pattern that's already here. So I gave it a home page with a razor file, a code behind file, and a CSS file for CSS isolation. It's now creating the code behind file. Yes, will show up momentarily. Any moment now. There it is. And you can also see that when it is calling a service, that it wraps that in a try catch block, and there is an exception handler in the catch clause, exactly as I wanted it. If you don't ask for it, you don't get this, right? But I did ask for it. I had that, let me see, in the meantime, I can browse around. So I had specified that here in error handling guidelines, and all pages must inject exception handler service and rep service calls and try catch block. And error display component is included in the main layout and shows errors as dismissible toast notifications and where it is positioned. And so it picked that all up. Good. What does it do now? Connection string. Great. The connection string is already there. Yeah. Be prepared. The store service tests. Oh, okay. It can do it in any order. I just asked, give me the stores page, and in the guidelines, the generic guidelines, it said every page must have tests, and there is some tests given as examples that need to be met. So it has the information. I would do it in a different order, but that's totally fine. It can do it in any order it wants. The store service tests. Let's see what it does there. Um, we are in the tests, services, store service test. What is it doing there? Yeah, it was talking about mock that it was using, store service test. What kind of test does it do? It creates some stores and adds them, and then it gets them all from the service, and it says, are they all in there? Yeah, they are. Get store by ID async. So can I retrieve a specific store? And yeah, it uses this particular ID, and then it tests that it was retrieved properly. Anyway, these are simple tests, but the service test, if we have these and they pass, then it gives us um, a better chance that the whole development succeeds, and also that it can find if there are errors. These tests help to find where they are. Yeah, so it says initial create. In my understanding, it doesn't create anything in the database just yet. So that was not intended. I wanted to go to something else. I wanted to go here. And I bet there's still nothing here. Yeah, Nothing. It just created the migrations. Building the project to see whether there are any uh, compilation errors. I have an issue. It doesn't really say what it is, but we could figure it out what it's doing there because the output of the compiler is visible here. Now I don't want to make this wider because I'm more interested in this. It most probably fixes this. There's something in store.razor. I have not seen this kind of error. I can make this a little bit smaller. Yeah, continue. .NET build. This seems like a bug in VS Code, but it works nicely around that. It calls it again. It, I have often seen it cutting off the first character. I'm not so familiar with these migrations, so I don't know um, what how to check those. But I do know that in previous runs, it did create a database properly, and so this is initial creation, and it generates all this, the table definitions. Um, so what I think is that by now this is having some tables, and I'm totally wrong about that. Let's keep an eye on what it is doing. I'll start by examining the roadmap. Oh, I must have accidentally scrolled up. I don't know how that happened. Yeah, that's a problem. The in-memory database is not 100% um, reliable, and it doesn't. Yeah, I fixed it in a previous run myself. Let's try whether it can work around it. Sometimes it comes to the conclusion I cannot fix a certain test and it leaves it. Um, that would be good in this case. Yeah, text areas are also kind of weird things, especially in testing. Oh, it actually fixed it. I was on the verge of telling it to just ignore it. Edit store test. Run all tests again. Hmm. Now it needs to create a CS for the error display component. Hmm. Well, it's not. There's nothing really wrong with it, but um, it seems to be hopping um, from A to B to A and D and C again. Okay. Now this is the initial migration. Okay. It's almost as if there is several things working in parallel and they all get in a queue, and the order in the queue is not necessarily um, what a human would do, but it doesn't happen. Um, it couldn't find a project to run. Yeah, maybe the .NET run was not done in the right folder. Could be. It's it's running. Now here it opens this thing, but it doesn't seem to ever show anything useful. So continue. That's fine. It seems to be done with the stores page. So I'm just going to see what happens. What happened? So I can now also run it here and see whether there is now a different application that has this stores page. Address is already in use. Aha. I've seen that before, and I don't like it, but I where can I find uh, this something? I had this before. Let's see. I now need to go command as administrator. Yeah. I already asked for it. And then what is this thing called? We are working in um, test spec-driven development. Okay, let's try that. Spec-driven development. Yeah, it says success. I'm to connect, but I'm quite sure that it now will work. Yes. So it's here now, and there's a stores page. Um, what is that? Oh, I did it this way. In previous times, it had an add new store as a button and then a modal where just this showed up. But I can now do like Costco, um, bulk users, add store, shows up. And if I go to the database, refresh, should show up there as well. What do we have? Stores. Select, and there it is, bulk users Costco, created by this guy on this date. And that's good. So now um, I want to know what tests it has generated and whether these all pass. I did um, already check at that service test. Um, it has here a little bit of useless using statements, but that's not a big deal. So what I want to look at is, well, these first tests are often just does it render correctly. Those often pass, but it's a good start. Nothing wrong with it. I want to look at, form validation, disable save button when name is empty. I didn't see it, but when I typed cost code, that made the, what is it, save button enabled. What I'm looking for is this. Yes, it puts things that are dependent on some delay or dependent on something being changed on the page between this in this wait for assertion block, and this avoids using the delay statements. That is pain in the neck. So it is that right. I had explicitly asked for that. So I'm now pretty confident that what it did is correct, and it's happened all without my interference. I just needed to click continue. So where are we now? Well, here in the README, I had said you do the first prompt and then you align, verify that all requirements are met. I just did that. So now I can go on with the next one. I say um, go do increment 1, which is the products page. And let's see how it responds to that. Paste. Um, it also sees itself that we are doing incremental development. The base application is now complete and ready for the next increments. All requirements and a roadmap have been met, and the application follows all the specified guidelines for architecture, user interface, state member. Nice. It really seems to understand what I said. Now, of course, it has no idea what we're talking about, but it it seems to be working just like we want it to work. So now I tell it to the next one, and it continues to, yeah, understand that we are on a roadmap and that we are going to do increment 1, and that is the products page. And based on the requirements, I need to implement a product page that allows blah, blah, blah. So we have now ensured that we are still aligned. And that makes it much more likely that this next page goes fine. It's also true that um, products. Now, the products page is a little bit more complex than the store page. The stores just um, exist independently. But for the products, we indicate in what stores they are available. And that is making this a little bit more complicated, but not a lot. Um, so I'm pretty sure it will just do this fine. Oh, I should not have this running. Oh, I did. I did stop it. Because if I have it running and it starts it also in Visual Studio Code, it will run into an error because the port is already in use. And that is just potentially too confusing for it to fix. I did see it fix it at one point, but it was failing that. And the reason is that you have to know about this. And you also have to run that. Well, I'm not 100% sure whether you have to run that as an administrator, but anyway, let's totally avoid that and not interfere. It communicates better than most humans about what is doing. So if we want to monitor it, then we can. Code behind for the process page, set that also exactly as I wanted to do. That code behind was also for the products page. Is apparently a heavier thing to do because it took longer. Products was razor. Um, This is not necessarily an interesting error. It's just that it is not ready yet. And here too, proper exception handling. Uh, yeah. Oh, I should try this exception handling. Um, I can put I can throw some exception in one of these, and then you could see that that works, even though I didn't say in detail what it should do. So now it's going into this cycle where it's compiling, fixing compiling errors, typically name uh, space clashes, and then creating tests, compiling those, running those, fixing errors. I won't necessarily miss these activities. Um, every compilation error is a little riddle, but some riddles are more enjoyable than other riddles. So I won't miss these. Now it's creating comprehensive tests. I'm pretty what is it, pleased with the tests that it writes. I had to instruct it not to use um, a test string occurrence on the page as a way to detect a state change because that's a weak test. It is now using data test IDs, and I should check that, but yeah, let's check that while we're here. So it's still a little bit busy here. So store page tests. So yeah, you can see it here, data test ID. This is how it detect whether a component or an element is on the page, and that is more robust than using just a markup or the complete HTML file. So that is good. It's also, I've seen it create tests where, for instance, they had to um, uh, open a modal after clicking a button, and then it would nicely click the button in the test and wait for assertion that the modal was open, and then uh, wait for assertion that certain information was available on the modal. So it does that pretty well. And most engineers would not do that in the first week that I work with these B-unit tests. Um, so it's nice that it comes out of the box. Let me see where it is. Create a products page tests. Oh yeah, it probably started with the uh, product service test, yes, and running all tests. No, two failing tests. Product service delete. Oh, it's again the delete thing. Um, it should now fix that in the same way that it did with the store deletion. It is conditions are too strict. Okay, I'm fine with this delete test not working because it might have something to do with this in-memory database. Not sure about that. Yeah, this is a known. Well, I've run into this myself too. I'm not 100% sure that there is an issue with the in-memory database, but um, it does other things also inadequately. Continue to iterate. Yes, it's still asking because I'm eating through my budgets. I'm now at 30%. Running all tests. I have no idea why it sometimes asks to continue. I expect that to, or 40 text now. Okay, you don't need to do that. You don't need to run it. I can run it myself here in Visual Studio. And so what we are now should see is next to the product page, there is also the source page, there is also a product page. And most likely it has the same pattern. Yes, here on the side, there is so if I ask eggs, um, description, I have no price. That's surprising. I never asked for price. Um, hmm. I know the price of eggs is a big issue in this country, but add product. So Costco had it, and you can see that it does this pretty well because if I say here another store, Fred Meyer, and best value for money, and add store, if I then go to products, it immediately says, well, you can also check um, Fred Meyer here for products, and it also does it like so, update product. So um, that's pretty good. So um, okay, so now it's more of the same, I guess. Um, you can stop watching if you want to, but I want to just know for sure that it all goes through. So I go to README, and I did the first increment. I have two more increments to go. So here we go. No, I didn't mean that. So working, now it says, okay, I'm now going to do the um, increment 2, which is probably the dashboard page, yes. The recipe page is not so interesting because it's only, it's very much the same like the products page um, in complexity. But the dashboard page is a little bit more difficult because it allows you to create a shopping list and then it displays which store is the best for you. Now, in this case, I have only two stores and I have only one product, but in general, that is the most interesting one to watch. So I don't need this dashboard view model. Yeah, I asked for these view models because I often find that I create an application and then later on I said, darn, I need that view model, and then I have to make too many changes. So I have this mental note I should create a view model. I use it all the time, even for simple pages. But of course, I never do that all the time. I do that sometime. And here I can just ask a machine to do it all the time, and that's kind of nice. The dashboard page. So where do I find that? Models and services. Um, Migrations, stores. It should show up here any moment now. Yeah, this is a bigger page, so it takes longer than even these previous ones. But by now I'm pretty confident that it just got the right direction and just makes it to the finish line. It's now just a matter of time. So it's very important to align this system early on, just like it is with people. If you manage a group of engineers, it's really important to get them aligned early on in the project because once they know what the direction is, they can basically take it from there. So we can also conclude that the whole difficulty of of developing software moves to the specification, which is where it always was. I made that argument in my previous video. So it doesn't make so much sense to look at this before it's done. But the dashboard, yeah, error handling, always very important. It's not nice to have to do it later when the errors are already happening. Ah, this home page that I created originally is actually not part of the solution. And it seems to be now understanding that the dashboard is the page where you want to go when you open the application. If it does that, then I take my hat off for it. That was not specified anywhere, but it seems to understand that. I explicitly asked it to use on change on HTML input because it's a little bit easier to keep consistent. If you do bind, then in some cases that will work, and in some cases it won't. And then you have to figure out why isn't it working in this case? Whereas if you consistently use on change, you don't have that problem. So it's just to simplify the life of a developer. It's um, at least in my view. It seems to be very well capable of detecting a problem and then fixing it as well. Um, Now, of course, I don't stop it in between to verify that all it does makes sense, but we have to admit that the end result was definitely what we wanted. Maybe not user interface wise. We might still want to have a modal instead of this uh, right hand pane, continue inner, yeah. Um, so it's not that the approximation that is being generated here is good enough for us to demo to a customer, but um, it's definitely something that they can uh, give comments on. And if we want to, before the actual demo, we can still add some modals if we want that pattern, this UI pattern, fine. That will be far less work than starting from scratch. People have pointed out that, um, oh, here it is running and blocking the build. I don't know who was running it. Was I running it? Oh, shoot, I was running it. Why did I do that? That's not good. So now it also knows that I had to kill that. This thing is well trained to be able to know this. I didn't know this. I never needed to kill something, but I was always the only one working on a system on a computer laptop. So what does it do now? Um, it seems to be waiting for that, but I'm say go ahead. So it picks it up in a right spot. It goes back to, are there any compilation errors? No, those were already fixed, and now it's going to run the tests, and for that it shouldn't be running. So it lost a little bit of time because I was interfering with it. It's almost funny that whenever I make a mistake during this demo, it actually demonstrates the resilience and the robustness of this system. It doesn't just crash and fail. No, it actively tries to work around it, says what it is doing, and helps me understand what my mistake was. Hmm, it wants to go back to the store model? That's surprising. I don't know what went wrong there, but it's still proceeding. It came to the conclusion that certain models were not correct, which is kind of weird so late in the game. Oh, created by, created at. Oh, this could be a nasty thing. I asked it to for auditing purposes, that's the official term for it, to add in the database a last modified and last modified date, like here, last modified by, and it is now um, complaining or talking about a created by and created at. Those are similar um, properties. Created by is equivalent to last modified by, or except it is, of course, creation and modification, but and created at is asking for this date. And if it's mixing those up, because 50% of the people on the planet call it last modified by, and 50% call it created by, and therefore it has been trained on inconsistent data, yeah, that it could confuse things. Um, so the question is, can it, when it did generate inconsistent data or code, can it fix that? So now it's recreated test file. It's interesting. Um, if it couldn't fix this, this would be kind of a minor thing. I could fix it myself, but of course I would rather have it all working. So I don't know why it's introduced this. It must have forgotten that I explicitly asked for last modified date and last modified by, just to avoid all this. I saw this happening in a previous run, and therefore I asked for it, and I thought it would had picked it up because it was using it here, these particular um, columns or properties. So now it's going back to the page component again for the tests. In the meantime, I can look at what it did for the service test. So we have a shopping item test. Um, hmm, Now it has last modified by and last modified date again. So it did seem to correct itself. Of course, I haven't checked that it was going wrong here. So I cannot really say that it corrected anything, but it seemed to be confused by these two. Allow test to run. The model wanted this test to run. That's not our model. That's a language model, but it typically doesn't refer to it as model. So there are, if I had a bigger screen, I could see what tests were actually failing. Um, but it does coverage analysis. That's interesting. If it actually generates more tests because of this, of pure coverage, then I have to again say I'm impressed. Yeah, it seems to be adding tests here. Um, yeah, it has been working for a while. Now at 30.7, allow tests to run. If it returns to saying something about coverage, test coverage, then it's better than I've seen it do before because it never mentioned that before. Hmm. Suddenly it's all fixed. Running the application. We are now at 63 tests. It's a decent amount, especially for a prototype. Okay. Um, it now says second one is completed. It seems to be throwing an exception here. I don't know what that is. And again, it gives a pretty lengthy description of what it has done. So we can be more confident if we read all this that all our the things that we asked for actually were done. So one last time, let me run this myself. It could mean that there is now an exception. It seemed to be throwing one in Visual Studio Code. And yeah, failed to bind to addresses already in use. So this is something that they're probably going to fix somewhere at Microsoft. But it's simply that when it, see the word to running, um, so it could do that just, this is a very fast execution. It could do that just every time it wants to run it. Just first kill anything that's running already. Okay, so okay, that's fine. I didn't need that error message. So I'm pretty confident it now goes that's fine. And we can see what it made of the, uh, yeah, okay. Now this is, it's not a big um, problem, but it is understandable that a language model or a chatbot couldn't find this, but maybe it can be trained to do it component. So we have this home page, and the home page had here say if you have are at the root, you need to run this page. And now it says at the dashboard, if you're at the root, you need to run this one. Yeah, so home should maybe do just this, and then we would not run into that problem, I think. Yeah, how would a language model know that? I could not have created the starting solution with the home page, but I wanted to give that home page also as a kind of way to indicate what kind of thing I wanted. So selected product. Now we have only eggs, and add to shopping list. And then it will say, Costco has eggs and Fred Meyer has eggs. Not so interesting. So I go, let's make an omelette. And I want another store. So here in the Pacific Northwest, we have QFC, Pricey. How do you spell that? I'm not sure whether that's the right way. But products, uh, eggs are also available at QFC. And how do you like your eggs in the morning? I like mine with spinach. So healthy, spinach. And at Costco they have it, but that's for the whole street. So Fred Meyer, QFC, and products. What else do I want in my omelette? I want milk, a little bit, and I mostly get it at QFC. So okay, so let's say we want that for the omelette. Then we go here, and I want to choose a product. I want eggs, milk, and spinach. And here it says that Fred Meyer is the winner. If I go to Fred Meyer, I can find all three, whereas if I at QFC, I get only two. And Costco, I get only, well, with my preferences at least, I can only get the eggs. So um, this proves pretty decisively that our application can be run or can be generated by these specification files in Markdown, which is phenomenal.